They told you your whole life never to cross the streams, never let positive touch negative, never, under any circumstances, touch those two thick cables together. That idea is drilled into every new driver from the moment they first get behind the wheel, hammered home during every driver's ed class, repeated by every dad standing over a hood in a driveway. And you know what? They are right about one thing. You never touch those cables together near the battery itself. That is sacred law, and I am going to hammer that point into you by the end of this video. But here is what they never told you. What the billion-dollar automotive service industry has spent decades making sure you never, ever figured out touching the disconnected cable ends together, with both cables completely removed from the battery and held far, far away from those lead posts, is the most powerful, most effective, completely free electrical reset technique that the modern dealership network will never admit exists. They cannot admit it. Because if you knew, you would never hand over $1,400 to replace a computer module that is not broken. You would never sit in that freezing waiting room while a technician in the back does something that takes 30 seconds and bills you for 3 hours of so-called advanced diagnostic programming. That ends today. Because this is happening in service bays right now. In 2026, this week, a driver gets into their car, engine turns over, car starts fine. But when they look down at the dashboard, there is nothing. Absolute darkness, speedometer dead, tachometer dead, radio completely gone, climate controls unresponsive, power windows doing nothing. Interior, lights out, engine running, car moving, but electrically, it is in a complete, terrifying coma. And here in 2026, with microchip prices still carrying the elevated baseline from the semiconductor supply chain collapse that started in 2020 and never fully recovered, with dealership labor rates now running $220 an hour in major metro markets, the first thought in that driver's head is catastrophic, electrical fire, total failure. So they find the nearest service center and drive in. And the service advisor delivers the diagnosis in that specific tone of voice that exists in no other industry, calm, slightly patronizing, designed to make you feel in over your head. Your body control module has suffered a catastrophic internal short circuit. The motherboard is fried. The instrument cluster is receiving no signal. We need to order a new BCM, program it to your specific VIN, reprogram the cluster communication protocol, and resync all secondary modules. The quote is $1,400. Some shops make it $1,600. In California, in 2026, I have seen it touch $2,000 at certain franchise dealers. And that driver has absolutely no framework to push back, because the language sounds real. The diagnostic computer is a real machine. It all sounds true. And it is a lie built entirely on the assumption that you do not know enough about basic electronics to see what is actually wrong. The dealerships making billions off your cyber panic want you to believe a dark dashboard means a fried motherboard. It almost never does. What you are looking at in the overwhelming majority of cases is a frozen logic loop maintained by residual capacitor voltage inside the body control module, capacitive retention. Basic electrical engineering that any first-year electronics student learns in the first 3 weeks, they are billing you $1,400 for a computer reboot. I am sharing this electrical reset methodology for educational and historical purposes because this technique has existed since the first automotive computer modules appeared in production vehicles in the late 1980s and master mechanics around the world, particularly in Japan, where precision engineering and resource efficiency are genuine cultural values baked into every workshop, have been using this $0 technique since before some of these service advisors were born. Let me show you exactly what is happening inside your car. Modern vehicles, anything built after roughly 2003, are not mechanical machines with some electrical components bolted on. They are rolling computers. Full stop. The engine is managed by an engine control module. The transmission has its own transmission control module. The airbags have a supplemental restraint module. The body functions, everything that makes your car livable, the windows, locks, lighting, instrument cluster, radio, climate control interface, all of that flows through a single orchestrating computer called the body control module, the BCM. And these computers do not run independently from each other. They talk to each other constantly, dozens of times per second, over a communication backbone called the CAN bus, Controller Area Network, developed by Bosch in the 1980s specifically for automotive applications. If your car were a human body, the CAN bus is the spinal cord. The BCM sits at a critical node of that network. It is the primary orchestrator of all body electronic functions. And like any computer on any network anywhere on Earth, it is running software. Real firmware burned onto flash memory chips inside that sealed plastic module. And here is where the entire Stealership narrative falls apart. Software, when it encounters an error condition it was not programmed to exit cleanly, freezes. It gets stuck in a logic loop. The program reaches a decision point, checks for a condition that never clears, loops back, checks again, fails again, loops back, forever, until power is physically removed. You have seen this on every device you have ever used. A smartphone that goes completely unresponsive, and you hold the power button, and it reboots and everything is completely fine. The processor did not burn out. The memory chips did not die. The software got stuck. It needed a forced restart. The fix was free, and it took 4 seconds. The BCM in your car is that frozen screen. And the solution is the same solution it has always been. If you are tired of auto shops treating your car like a disposable smartphone and charging you $1,000 for a frozen screen, hit the like button right now so this reaches every car owner who needs to see it before they sign that repair order. Tell me in the comments if your dashboard or radio ever went completely black and what a dealership tried to charge you to fix it. I want those numbers. Subscribe and hit the bell before the automotive lobby figures out this channel exists. Now, let me explain why simply unplugging your car battery for 10 minutes almost always fails to clear this, because this is the exact technical gap the Stealership is counting on. Modern vehicle computer modules, specifically the BCM and ECM, are designed with internal capacitors mounted directly on their circuit boards. A capacitor is a passive electronic component that stores electrical charge. Think of it as a tiny rechargeable battery built directly into the chip architecture of the module. Small, maybe the size of a pencil eraser, but functional. The engineering purpose is completely legitimate. These capacitors act as a voltage buffer, a local reservoir, protecting sensitive processor chips from the normal voltage fluctuations in a vehicle's electrical environment. When your alternator output varies slightly, when you hit a high current load and voltage dips momentarily, those capacitors release their stored charge to smooth the signal and protect the logic circuits. Good design, sound engineering. But here is what that same design means when you are trying to reset a frozen module. Those capacitors hold their charge for hours after the main 12-volt battery is disconnected. We are talking about low voltages at the board level, 5 volts on the main logic rail, 3.3 volts on secondary rails, some components at 1.8 volts, but that is more than enough to keep a microprocessor's volatile memory registers active, to keep that frozen logic loop frozen in exactly the condition it was in when the error occurred. Which means if your BCM is locked in a logic loop and you disconnect the battery for 10 minutes, those internal capacitors never fully discharged. They maintain just enough voltage to preserve the frozen state through the entire time your battery was disconnected. The loop is still there when power returns. The dark dashboard is still there. And the service advisor will tell you with a straight face that this confirms the module has truly failed at the hardware level and requires replacement. What it actually confirms is that the capacitors did exactly what they were designed to do. Capacitive discharge is the complete solution. The principle is almost insultingly simple once you understand basic circuit theory. If you create a complete path for electrical current to flow, it flows until there is no charge remaining. Electricity goes to zero if you give it a complete, uninterrupted circuit. The hard reset creates exactly that condition simultaneously across the entire vehicle electrical system. You remove both cables from the battery, creating a break in the main power circuit. Then you connect those 2 cable ends directly to each other, completing a circuit that runs through every wire in the car's harness but bypasses the battery entirely. Every capacitor and every module that is still holding any residual charge now has a complete path to zero through the harness. The charge flows. The capacitors drain to absolute zero. Every volatile memory register in every module that was being maintained by that residual capacitor energy loses its state. The frozen logic loop is not reset. It is erased. It cannot exist in a system with zero stored energy because there is nothing left to maintain its state. Here is exactly how you do this. Park the vehicle on completely level ground and engage the parking brake fully, as far as it goes. This is not optional. The vehicle must be stationary and secured for the entire procedure. Open the hood and locate the battery. You are going to work with the cable ends only. Take your wrench, 10 mm on most Japanese vehicles, and approach the negative terminal cable first. The negative cable is the one with the black housing, connecting to the post marked with a minus symbol. Loosen the clamp bolt, slide the cable clamp completely off the negative post, and move it away from the battery. Do not let it rest against the battery case. Do not let it fall back and contact the post. Move it away. Now do the same with the positive cable, the red housing, the plus symbol post. Loosen the clamp bolt, lift the clamp completely free of the positive post, and move it away. Both cables are now completely disconnected. The battery is sitting there untouched and isolated. Now take the two free cable ends, the metal clamp end of the negative cable and the metal clamp end of the positive cable, and bring them together until the metal-to-metal contact is solid. You can use a small clamp to hold them together, you can use a length of jumper wire connecting the two clamp ends, or you can hold them in contact by hand since there is no live voltage present in the cables themselves at this point. Set a timer for 15 minutes. Not 5, not 10, 15 full minutes. During that time, every stored charge in every module drains to 0 through the harness. When the timer goes off, separate the cable ends. Now reconnect the battery. Positive terminal first this time, then negative. Positive cable clamp back onto the positive post, tighten it securely. Negative cable clamp back onto the negative post, tighten it securely. Start the vehicle. The BCM boots from 0. The instrument cluster receives its initialization signal from the CAN bus. The speedometer comes up, the tachometer comes up, the radio returns, the climate controls respond, $1,400, $0 spent. Now hear this final point with complete seriousness. What you are connecting together in this procedure is the cables, the detached cable ends, the wire and clamp ends that are no longer connected to anything. This is completely safe because those cables, once disconnected from the battery, contain no stored energy of their own. They are passive conductors. The energy was inside the module capacitors and it has fully drained. What you are absolutely, categorically, under no circumstances ever doing is touching the positive and negative posts of the battery itself together. The battery is a sealed electrochemical reactor containing concentrated sulfuric acid under pressure. A direct short between its terminals dumps the entire stored energy of that chemical reaction through the lowest resistance path in milliseconds. The current is measured in hundreds of amps. The heat melts metal. The acid boils. Hydrogen gas builds pressure faster than the case vents it. The result is a battery explosion. Acid, lead fragments, and plastic shrapnel in every direction. This is not a legal disclaimer. It is physics. It has caused serious injuries. The cables, yes. The battery posts, never. Subscribe to this channel and hit the bell because this is the kind of knowledge that keeps real money in your pocket and keeps mechanics honest. Hit the like button because the algorithm in 2026 is not optimized for free repair education. It is optimized for the sponsored content from the exact industry we are pushing back against. And if this brought your dashboard back to life and saved you a $1,400 repair order, tell me the number in the comments. Every story matters. You are not alone in this.